Okay. Okay, grade threes. Today our lesson is about finding easier ways to multiply. I put a happy face because I love the word easier. So hopefully today it will help you when you're multiplying numbers that are maybe bigger, so it's harder to multiply them, and you can break them into smaller questions and make it easier to put together. So anyway, that's the goal. So, okay, so one of my videos I did, apparently I talked for 10 minutes and you couldn't see what I was talking about. So I'm really trying hard not to do that. I think what I did was share a screen, but I didn't share the screen. I was looking at the screen, but you couldn't see it. So anyway, hopefully you can see this now. You should see some dots in a row right here. And this, we're going to start with just a little quick review. So we're just talking about adding and how we can show adding. So we can show adding with circles and a line. So here's the circles and a line. It's breaking them into two parts. So we can add these ones with these ones. And I'm just going to do my writing over here instead of on my, I'm going to make this box bigger if I can. Oops. There, so you can see my work here. I find it's a little tricky to write on the computer. Okay, so we've got all these dots. So over here I see I have 1, 2, 3, 4. So I could make 4. And then on this side I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 4 plus 5. You all know that is 9. Okay, so that's one way to show adding with circles and a line, and then we did the adding question. So there's a couple here for you to try at home. So A, we're making an addition sentence. How many dots are here? 2. How many dots are here? 5. So 2 plus 5 altogether, that is 7. Okay. B, how many dots do we see here? 3 plus, and how many dots do we see here? 4. Oh, that is also 7. So as you see, it's just depending on where they're putting this line, how they're breaking this up. Okay, 2 and 5 is 7, 3 and 4 is 7. Okay, good. So now we're going to look at when we're multiplying. Okay, so now we're not adding individual dots, we're adding groups of dots. And so here, how many groups? So 1, 2, 3. So when I'm doing the multiplication, I'm looking at how many groups. So it's 3 groups of, and how many are in each group? 4. Oh, I love this one because 3 times 4, we all know is the one you never forget, 12. Okay, so 3 groups of 4. And so when you see this symbol, multiplication, you can say 3, sometimes people say 3 times 4 because there's 3 times 4. Or they say 3, it would actually be 4 multiplied by 3 in this picture. Or you could say 3 groups of. So instead of saying times or multiplied, you could say groups of. Okay? So those are 2 different ways you could say it. You can either say 3 times 4 or 3 groups of 4. Sometimes if you say 3 groups of 4, it's easier to visualize because you're seeing these 3 groups with 4 in each one. Okay. And I'm going to show you this one. So here I've got a few for us to practice. Okay, so A. First, I want to see how many groups there are. How many groups? This is a group. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I could write it like this, 5 groups of, and how many are in each group? There's 1, 2, 3, 4. So 5 groups of 4. Okay. And then in this one, B, I've got how many groups? First start with the groups. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 groups. And how many are in each group? I have 1, 2, 3. Okay. So if you already know, if you don't know how many this is, you could count all the dots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. I could come up with 20 by counting them. That's hard. That takes a long time. I could break it into, well, okay. I'm not going to break it because I don't want to get into another part. Okay, so for here, I'm sorry, I just maybe messed you up. Okay, down here, I can count all these dots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 to find out how many altogether. So 6 groups of 3 is 18, 5 groups of 4 is 20. All right. Okay, so now we're going to put the two ideas together that we talked about today. We talked about just numbers in a line, and you can divide them up. So we could have this line here. This would be like 4 dots plus 2 dots. 4 plus 2 is equal to 6. Okay, put that here. 4 plus 2 equals 6. That's what they're showing here. And then when you were talking about multiplying, so just like we can break up 6 dots, we can also break up 6 groups of dots, or 6 groups. Okay, so we've got 6 groups, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, just like we had 6 dots, and we've broken it up so that we can have 2 smaller multiplication sentences that we're going to be working with. So what we have here is 4 groups of 3 plus 2 groups of 3 is 6 groups of 3. 4 groups of 3 plus 2 groups of 3 is 6 groups of 3. It's the same. It's the same question, but we're talking about groups of 3 instead of just groups of dots, or just individual dots. Here we're talking about groups of dots. Okay. So this relates to your book here, because we're looking at page 183 in the 3.1 book. And we're talking here about the groups. So it's 7 groups of 2. So these are groups of 2, 2 dots in each one. Okay. And altogether there's 7 groups of 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But maybe that's, if you don't know your 7 times tables, you could break it into smaller groups. So you have 4 groups of 2 plus 3 groups of 2. So maybe you know 4 times 2 and 3 times 2. You should know those because those are the doubles. And then you can add them together. That might help you. But you should also know 7 groups of 2 because that's the doubles too. But anyway, they're just trying to show you the concept so that you could use this and apply it in other ways later. Okay, so 4 groups of 2 plus 3 groups of 2 is the same as saying 7 groups of 2. 4, because 4 plus 3 is 7. So that's what they're showing you here. And then for these questions, it says draw a line to show the 2 smaller products. So here, first of all, they tell you what the whole group is. 5 groups of 3. So you can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 groups of 3. And then they wanted you to divide it up into 3 groups of 3 plus 2 groups of 3. So you have to put 3 groups of 3 and put a line, and then 2 groups of 3. So they did that one. You guys have to do these ones yourself. So the first part, 6 groups of 4, is talking about all of the groups here. But now they want you to put a line so that you have 5 groups of 4 and 1 group of 4. And you do that for all of question 1. Okay. Okay, so here's another example. They put the picture up here and the words down here, and they've reversed it. So they've got telling you first here how many groups are all together. So up here it says I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 groups. So I would write 7 groups of, and how many are in each group? 1, 2, 3, 4. 7 groups of 4. And that's what I have right here. And this one here, if you know what 7 times 4 is right away, that's great. If you don't, you can remember like we did with the doubles. You could do 7 groups of 2 and then 7 groups of 2 twice. Instead of 7 times 4, 7 times 2, 7 times 2. So, but it's 28. I think I'm messing. Anyway. So here though, it says draw a line to show that 2 groups of 4 plus 5 groups of 4 is 7 groups of 4. So I'm going to show it with a line. Where would I put this line? Because that's what you have to do in your questions in part 2 of your page. Draw a line to show that 2 groups of 4 plus 5 groups of 4 is equal to 7 groups of 4. So I'm going to use my special pen. And I'm going to draw it right on here. Oh, maybe I'll use a marker. Oh, that's a highlighter. I don't know. I'll use a. Okay. So I've got to make 2 groups. Okay. 2 groups of 4. So 1, 2. Put my line there. And now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I've just shown that 2 groups of 4 plus 5 groups of 4 is 7 groups of 4. I didn't change the groups. There's still the same amount of groups. But now I'm showing that 2 groups of 4 and 5 groups of 4 is 7 groups of 4. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to show you another example. Oh, make sure I'm sharing my screen. Oh, I think I am showing my screen. I hope I am. Okay. Okay. Sorry, guys. Just making sure you're seeing this. All right. So I've got some examples here for us to go through. So it says, add a line to show the 2 smaller products. So just like we were doing before. So they're showing you first. This is showing 4 groups of 2. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 groups of 2. That's what this first part's telling us. Then it says to put a line that now makes it 3 groups of 2 and 1 group of 2. So 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to put the line here. 1, 2, 3 groups of 2 and 1 group of 2. Okay. So it was 4 groups of 2. And we know that is 8 because we know our doubles. Now we've got 3 groups of 2 plus 1 group of 2. 3 groups of 2 is 6, plus 1 group of 2 is 2, and 6 plus 2 is equal to 8, the same as that 8. Okay? But you don't even have to do that. All you have to do is draw the line right now. Then on this one, 5 groups of 4, there's 5 groups with 4 dots in each group. I have to make it 1 group of 4 and 4 groups of 1. So I'll start here, 1 group of 4, draw my line, 4 groups of 4. Down here, 6 groups of 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Use my mouse so you can see what I'm doing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm now going to make it into 2 groups of 5 and 4 groups of 5. So 2 groups of 5 and 4 groups of 5. So what they're basically telling you is that 6 groups of 5, or 6 times 5, is the same as saying 2 times 5 plus 4 times 5. It's the same. It's because 4 plus 2 is 6. So 6 times 5 is the same as 4 plus 2. 4 times 5 plus 2 times 5. Okay? I think that you can see that. Okay? In this one, they've already divided the groups up. And they're saying, what does this picture show? Well, I can see that there is here 1, 2, 3, 4 groups of 3. So 4 groups of 3. And 2 plus 2 groups of 3, which is what this says. It equals 6 groups of 3. Altogether, there's 6 groups of 3. So I'm going to write it like that. 4, remember, this means groups of 3 plus 2 groups of 3 equals, and altogether there's how many groups? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 equals 6 groups of 3. It looks hard. This looks complicated, but I know that when you look at the pictures, it's not really complicated, is it? I hope you're understanding. Oops, here we go. Okay, here's another one. And actually at home, I hope you have a little piece of paper with you, because I would like you to write out the answer to this. I'd like you to write here what you see. I see, and then write it down here. So how many groups, how many are in each group on this part of the line? And then you're adding it to how many groups times what's in the groups here. And then you're going to write down the whole thing. How many groups altogether with how many dots. Okay, so I'd like you to pause the recording right now for a second and try to do this and then come back. Okay. I hope you paused. So let's do this together. So we have here 2 groups. So the first thing I'm going to write down is how many groups? 2 groups of 4. There's 4 in each group. So that's what I'm writing right here. Plus, this little line basically means plus, doesn't it? Then how many groups do I have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. And there's 4 in each group still. 5 groups of 4. And that's the same as saying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 groups of 4. So 2 groups of 4 plus 5 groups of 4 is the same as 7 groups of 4. Did you get it right? I hope so. Okay, so our next question is basically the same thing, but this time they want you to draw the picture. So that's the same as the question number 3 on page 183. On page 183, they want you to draw the picture. So what you really need is a notebook. Whenever it says notebook, a picture of a notebook, you basically need a notebook. What you could use is just a little book, kind of like this, and that you always do your pages of math in that are not in the JumpMath book. You could just put the page number and then your answers. That way you can keep it all organized. So this time they want you to draw a picture showing the question here. So I'm going to draw the picture right here. So I know that it's 2 groups. So first I make 2 groups. And in each group, it's saying I have 3. So in this one, I have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then I'm making a line because the plus means it's like a line. Then I need 3 more groups. 1, 2, 3. They're a bit smaller. And I'm still going to have 3 things in each of my groups. So I just drew this picture. 2 groups of 3 plus 3 groups of 3. Okay, and now I'm going to write it down here. Well, they've already written it up here, but I'm going to write it down again. 2 times 2 groups of 3 plus 3 groups of 3. And in this one, they want you to do the whole amount together. Okay, so I'm just going to put the equals over here. So what's all together? How many groups of 3? Well, 2 and 3 is 5, so I have 5 groups of 3. So what they're telling you is that 2 groups of 3 plus 3 groups of 3 is the same. Oh, you can't see it. Move my camera. See if I can. As 5 groups of 3. Things are falling down. Okay. Make sure I'm writing where you can see. There you go. Okay. So we're going to change things a little because if you go to page 184, you're going to see now they're not showing you pictures of groups of dots. They're showing you numbers, a whole bunch of numbers. And in the one in my book or on my thing here that you can see right here, It's showing that 8 groups of 7, it means that you're adding 8 sevens together. It could also mean 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and there's 7 in each one. Instead of drawing 7 dots, I'm just going to put 7, showing I've got 7 dots in each group. And that's like adding 7 8 times, right? So in the picture here, they didn't draw the circles, they're just drawing out all the sevens. And they're making 8 times 7 might be tricky, but they're going to try to break it into 2 smaller multiplication questions, products, so that you can have 2 smaller ones to put together. That's what's supposed to make this easier. Okay. All right. So let's see here. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's 5 groups of 7. So I'm putting a 5 there to show that. That's the part I answered. The line, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's a line, is like a plus sign. Put my other side of my bracket on. And then how many groups of 7 are here? 1, 2, 3. So 3 groups of 7. And that altogether is the same as saying 8 groups of 7. So that's why when you're doing your times tables, if you are having trouble with the 8s, you can, if you know the 5s, which are usually pretty easy, counting by 5s, and you know the 3s, you could add them together. Or you could do the 4s and double it. Okay. So that's how it's making it easier. And it's also helping you to understand how this works. Okay. Okay, so the next ones are kind of how you're going to be doing question 4 on page 184, filling in the blank. This part and the rest of this page, but the top part here for sure. Okay, so it says split 7 6s into 5 6s and 2 6s. Okay. And so you could just, they've got the 7 6s, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I need one more. I'll put it over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I'm going to split it into 5 6s and 2 6s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 2. Okay. And they could write it like this. This here is 7 6s. So 7 6s, okay, is the same as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 6s and 2 6s. Okay, that's all they're doing here. And that's what they're showing you here. So they've got 7 8s instead of 6s is the same as 5 8s plus how many more 8s to make 7? 5 and what makes 7? And you put that there. Okay, so that's what they're doing here. They're just showing you this. Okay, so this is the final part of the page on page 184, number 5. It's questions like this. So they're giving you a multiplication question. In this case, 9 times 7, or 9 groups of 7. And they're, well, in this one, in the book, they're just showing the addition, but we're going to just here, it's the same as 5 groups of 7 plus 4 groups of 7. Okay. And so what they want you to do is you're going to be dividing. Well, anyway, I won't bother with that. Okay. So which is, then you figure out, you have to actually figure out the answers for 5. What's 5 groups of 7? Well, you can count by 5s. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. And you have to remember 5 groups of 7, it gives you the same answers as 7 groups of 5. It doesn't matter which way. So you can count by 5s if there's a 5 in it. Okay. You don't have to count by 7s. Plus 4 groups of 7. If you don't know that off by heart, hopefully you know your doubles. If you know that 2 sevens, two sevens is 14, 2 sevens, and then I have 4 sevens, so I have to do 2 sevens twice. 14 plus 14, it's easier. I can add up that. 4 and 4 is 8, 1 and 1, 28. So I got 35 plus 28. I'm going to add this all together. 8, 28 plus 35. Okay. I know that that's 13. And that 3, 4, 5, 6. There you go. 63 is the answer. Okay, and that's what they want you to do. They want you to break it into so that you're doing a 5. All of them want you to break it into so that you divide at least a 5 out. Or not, take out. Okay, so let me show you again, because it seems like it's getting suddenly complicated, but it's not really. I'm going to show you here. I've got some more examples. So on question number 5, and there's part of it that you do in the book and part you do in your own notebook. It says split the product into 5 times a number plus a smaller product. So they've got 8 times 9. They want you to make it 5 times 9 plus whatever else you need. So what goes with 5 to make 8? I need 5, 6, 7, 8. 3 more. 3 times 9. So 8 times 9 is the same as 5 times 9 plus 3 times 9. That's what they're showing you right here. Now here, this is 9 groups of 8, which is the same as 5 groups of 8 plus how many groups of 8? What do you need with 5 to get 9? You said 4. Okay, and we've got this one. 7 groups of 6 this time. So in this question, they want you to always make the first one 5. Break it and cut it by 5 first, and then find out what the rest of it will be. So we're going to always do a 5. 5 groups of 6. So what do I need with a 5 to get 7? 5, 6, 7. I need 2 more. So 2 groups of 6. So 7 groups of 6 is the same as 5 groups of 6 plus 2 groups of 6. That is what you're doing at the bottom, but then you're actually finding out what 5 groups of 6 is and adding it to 2 groups of 6. So if I do that here, 5 groups of 6, if I know my 5 times tables, I'm going to get 30 plus 2 groups of 6, doubles, 12. I can take away the brackets now. I don't need them anymore. So it's just 30 plus 12. Oops. So I can add the 2 to the 0, 2, and the 1 to the 3, 42. Oops. There. So this one, we did the whole question like they want you to do. Here we just showed you how to break out the 5 and then find out what the other part would be. So 9 groups of 8 is 5 groups of 8 plus 4, because 4 and 5 makes 9. All right. Well, that's it for today. I hope that that helps you understand. And at any time during the thing, if you want to leave me a comment and tell me that you understand or don't understand, or that would be great. Then I have an idea. All right. I'll talk to you later. Bye.